Who are you?
Matthew Gideon, Captain. Attached to the Earth Alliance starship Excalibur.
What do you want?
To find a cure to the Drakh plague before it wipes out all life on Earth.
Where are you going?
Anywhere I have to.
Who do you serve, and who do you trust?
Hello and welcome to Chats, a television podcast, season 6.5. Chatzylon 5 presents Crusade Chats. My name is Alan, and I'm joined by the man who doesn't have any surviving enemies at all. It's Magellan.
Hey, what's up?
Hi, Magellan. Hey, girl. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, girl. What's good?
What's Gucci, my homie? Ew, God. Can we start the episode actually over entirely?
Yeah, no. This is the vibe in Crusade Chats. Everything is just a little bit bad.
Everything is messy and wrong and
Everything's just
unique in special ways.
Doesn't work. Yeah, that's how it goes.
This is a whole vibe here on Chats. We are entering a sort of half season of sorts, like I said up top. Magellan and I finished Babylon 5 earlier this year, and we recapped it. We had a great time. We loved it. We laughed. We cried. We missed those characters. We bought books for some reason that we might read at some point. And for now, we are beginning our watch of the canceled before it was aired spin-off series, Crusade. Crusade was conceived by JMS-approved and Michael Vehar as a spin-off to Babylon 5. That was led into by the film that we watched last week, A Call to Arms. And in 1999, they started airing Crusade, and before it aired, it was canceled. Oops!
Yikes.
TNT did not think that this show would be very successful and thought it was expensive and bad, and they just, I don't know. There isn't a lot of info about why it was canceled, other than, like, you can kind of see it from watching it. You can kind of understand why it was canceled, but it's just, I want to jump in here right away and say this is such a fascinating viewing experience.
Oh, completely.
Because you go from Babylon 5, which is like amazing despite its production trouble, and it doesn't buckle under the pressure of its network too much, and manages to be a good show while also having something to say. And then you go to this little baby chick show, this 13 episode little darling called Crusade, and everything is immediately on fire. This show feels like it's held together by a really thin string.
Here's the thing. Whenever there was something from Babylon 5 that was in this show, I was like, what? What is that? That doesn't belong here. In the second episode, when there was a Minbari Ranger, I was like, what?
Huh?
That's
Oops.
not... You
There's
don't go
a scene
here.
in the first episode where the best scene in the first episode ends with the homunculus like being taken into space by the probes, and it goes to like the ship graveyard, and those are like Narn ships, and I was like, wait, whoa.
This is the same universe?
It really, and then and there's like that Minbari also talks about like the Interstellar Alliance, and you're like, that's not real, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Man, it feels like to me, well, let's get into it. Let's talk about what we watched, and then I'll tell you more about how I felt.
Well, I want to hear, what does it feel like?
It feels like when you go to sleep like the day after you graduate from high school, and you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, I don't do high school anymore.
Yep.
But it's still like I still have the same friends.
Yep.
And like I live in the same house, but like what?
Yep, that is exactly right. It's I think I made this comparison maybe last episode, or
I think you made a similar comparison. Yes.
Yeah, that after I graduated from college, I worked the summer after college on my college campus, but it was like nobody that I knew was really there, and my job was as like an RA for high schoolers, and it was just like such a dissociative, miserable experience, because it was like this place that I loved is now just a total chore. And Crusade isn't quite that miserable, but it is equally very, very strange.
Right. And I think when people sold it to us as like the bad, or unsold it to us as like the bad spinoff, I thought it would be more connected to Babylon 5, and so I actually enjoy it a lot more when it's not doing Babylon 5 things.
I agree. Because when it's not doing Babylon 5 things, it's just like, oh, I turned on the Sci-Fi Network and this like really schlocky show is on, and I can find things to appreciate about it. But it has this anonymity of like, oh, just another random sci-fi show with its, stuff going on.
Right.
It's like, I can't remember what the show was called, but there was this stretch of a couple weeks where I would catch episodes of this random show on the Sci-Fi Network where they like had a time machine and they would go back in time like a day to fix something that went wrong or something.
Oh, interesting. Was this like recently?
No, it was like years ago. Like it must have been 10 years ago or something. But they like their machine couldn't go back further than a day or something like that. And anyway, I just remember really enjoying that I had found this thing that I had never heard anybody talk about, and that was kind of bad. But I just got to like find what was enjoyable about it. And the moments where Crusade felt like that, it was delightful. And the moments where I was reminded like, oh yeah, this shares a universe with this show that I adored, and it like wasn't able to do all the things that it thought it was going to do. It's a bummer.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's in the way that we were having to watch this, right? Where we're not watching this in the order that it was aired, because we were doing our best to reserve what J. Michael Straczynski wanted the show to look like, even though, as we'll discuss, no part of the show is what he wanted it to look like exactly, or seem like or feel like. So for this week, we watched the first two episodes in the JMS viewing order, which are broadcast episode 9, Racing the Night, and broadcast episode 11, The Needs of Earth. First up is Racing the Night, which is written by JMS, directed by Mike Vehar, who I think that's like the writing directing crew on the entire show.
No, that's not true.
It is not? Okay,
Nope.
great.
Yeah.
It aired August 4th, 1999, and it takes place in May of 2267.
Oh.
Don't you miss it? Don't you miss?
Yeah. There are actually more episodes of Crusade that were written by other people than Babylon 5.
Really? Oh, this is just an anomaly that these are both like this?
Yeah, not total, but I mean like, the percentage.
Oh, sure.
That's other people. Or maybe first season Babylon 5 was like this, but there are actually a good amount that aren't written by JMS.
Well, Magellan, I want you to tell me, though, what happened in Racing the Night?
Well, Alan, let me tell you what happened. In this episode, an advanced civilization dead some 1,000 years may hold the medical data the Excalibur crew seeks. Instead, the holographic explorer sent by Galen uncovers an ominous secret. The holographic explorer.
Oh my god, that's so much cooler than what it actually is.
Shoot.
So this is going to be a fun exercise in like figuring out where the Chats kids land on like, is this good bad or bad bad? I think that's going to be the whole Crusade discussion.
Quite possibly. No, this is hard to judge, but it is an extremely chatsable show.
Totally.
It is a deeply chatsable show. It might be the most chatsable show.
Right, because it has so much baggage. It's like more baggage than there is show.
Yeah. Maybe it's not more chatsable than the Newsroom. I don't know, but it's sort of like if the Newsroom wrote Farscape, kind of.
Whoa, yeah, okay.
Maybe that's not true. It's not a perfect comparison, but
it's not. Well, this is the thing, right? So I watched this episode, then I watched the second one, and then I went back and watched. My DVD copy is one of the older printed ones that still has the JMS commentary for Racing the Night. And we'll talk about the circumstances behind that. Basically, from what I had read from like old Usenet forums, it seems like JMS did not want this commentary to be on the DVDs because they cut out all of the negative stuff he said about TNT. There's a whole post that I'll link somewhere where he's just furious about the fact that like he asked them. He basically said, if you're gonna use this, you have to use everything I said on this commentary. And they promised him they would, and then they didn't. And they just used some nice things he said about the episode and what he wanted it to be. And then he asked that every printing after that had it taken out. So yours doesn't actually have this commentary. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, I was looking for it and I didn't understand Alan's instructions for how to open it, and it's because I don't have it because mine's a newer box set.
It's wild. Because the commentary is otherwise pretty standard fare for like a showrunner talking about their show. He talks about how like this is supposed to be the pilot, and one of the big things, getting right into it, is that Crusade kind of doesn't get, it does get right into it. Like there is no introduction of like, I mean, there's like the theme song, but the theme song happens after a cold open that's very weird, kind of like setting up what Gideon's whole situation is with the Drazi ambassador, and it's filmed in first person, so we don't see who he is.
Oh my God.
JMS is spending that whole thing being like, yeah, this is cut down. Yeah, this is all of the stuff where this made more sense is cut. We like completely gutted this scene to make it more like introductory, and this is all broken. All this is fake.
That scene was so, it felt like the opening cutscene for like a BioWare RPG or something.
Most scathing indictment of a BioWare RPG, but correct. Or just
I love. Hold on. Big Knights of the Old Republic fan over here.
Sure. I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying the Mass Effect games are cowardly.
There's not a problem with video game opening cutscenes. It's just that when you do, the moment that really made it feel that way is this whole thing. The Drazi ambassador's like, well, if you don't find a cure to your Drakh plague and you're going through our space, if you don't get it in 4 years, then we're going to make you kill people from Earth that try to escape. It's like, okay, this is a lot.
The timer is on.
And then it's basically like, do you agree or whatever? And then cut to Gideon's boss being like, Gideon, I can't believe you agreed to that. He's like just the most wooden, like, I don't know. He felt like Trask Olgo.
Yeah. God.
There you go. That's my BioWare, my KOTOR reference right there.
There's your poll. No, but I think the video gaminess permeates this entire show so much more than B5, because one of the other things JMS talks about in this commentary is like Babylon 5 went into it trying to be a political show. It's about ambassadors. It's about people up top. And I think that's something where it like kind of succeeds, kind of doesn't, is that Crusade so far is like about just employees of a larger system who like have their own motivations and like know what they need to do in their work, but like some of them kind of like float in and out of the cast in different ways. You know, specifically like Galen and Durina, but everyone else is just like they're like regular ass employees who like go to bed, record audio logs, and then like clock in the next day. And I like that, except for the fact that it really feels like they are balanced the way like a Western RPG party would be.
Yep. Right.
You have your thief. Like literally, there's a scene. So you can go in order, but like Dr. Chambers at one point is like, "Oh, our resident pickpocket, Dorina, there was a Dorina shaped hole in the thingy." Yeah. Cut to her with like dirt on her face, like clawing through like dead bodies, and you're like, "She's the rogue." Did you get it?
Right, and you know that the guy who's playing Galen and made Galen his character is the one person who bought like the expansion book that gives you the Technomage class.
Yeah, he just has like the weird broken class.
Yeah, he's insisting that the GM let him play a Technomage, and the GM's like, no, you've clearly min-maxed this character to have like tons of weird powers that make things not fun. And he insists on playing Galen as like a foppish, joking guy. It's like that doesn't. 1 minute you're playing him super serious, and the next he's like, it's exactly, like an RPG party, and it just doesn't. It has that same air of an RPG that is just kind of like we're a bunch of friends, so we started this. Where your first story is like you're all together because you're together.
Yeah.
Whereas Babylon 5 really, character relationships felt lived in from the very beginning, and everybody felt like they had a reason to be there and to interact with each other. And you're like, okay, like Londo Jakar, I get it. Delenn, I get it. Kosh, I don't get it, but I get that I'm not supposed
but I'm not supposed to get it, exactly.
Right. Sinclair, Garibaldi, like I get, everybody makes sense here. And it makes sense that they all are in this place. And Crusade, it's like, okay, this character could leave. And I don't see how that would affect like the lattice work of the character relationships.
Right. I think you saying like Galen feels like the broken techno mage is why they were like, okay, our compromise is you don't get to really be in the plot. You just get to make quips when things are already happening, but you can't affect anything unless you want to be a Deus Ex Machina once per session.
Right.
Otherwise, you don't touch the plot.
Galen really annoys me, dude. Some of
he annoys you.
The actor's doing nice work, and
Peter Woodward,
and some of his jokes I think are funny, but his very existence and his role in the story annoys me greatly.
I totally get that, especially you as a fan of like rules and like consistency in character.
Yeah.
He feels super jarring. I love the moments when he's funny. I think Woodward like brings a energy to this show that it doesn't have otherwise. Like it's the rest of the cast honestly feels like super low energy.
Yes, I agree.
With the exception, I guess, of our local archaeologist. Easily the weirdest performance of the show. Max Eilerson, played by David Allen Brooks. Who's working for IPX.
He's my favorite character.
This is the thing, folks. You're like, guys, Alan, Magellan, just watch Crusade. Like, come on, it'll be fun. You'll suffer through it. And we come in here, and I'm like, I love Galen, and Magellan's like, I love Max. And it's like, fuck, you guys like the worst characters on the show. You suck. The show sucks. We're canceled.
Oh,
too bad.
My God.
Sorry.
Everything that Max says, man, I had the same joy that I had when we were watching Face Off for commentary chats. And just like when Travolta is playing the bad guy inside Travolta's body, like
it's delicious.
The Nick Cage character in his body, that is like what Max feels like. Just the hammiest, most incorrect line delivery. There was one when Alan texted me and told me that he was starting the Crusade episode. I called him because I wanted to hear him experience it. And he got to the scene where Max is introduced, and there was some line that you played like 3 or 4 times because
I'm gonna put it here because it's the most bonkers line delivery I've ever heard.
Yeah.
What's maddening is that all of these contain the first part of the formula in question. I'm sure they're continued somewhere, but I'll be damned if I can figure out where. I have my people searching the buildings for this particular sequence.
It's just so because it feels like he read 2 lines of dialogue and didn't breathe between them.
Every single one of his lines feels like it's way too long.
Yes. Which is hilarious because in one of the final scenes of the episode when Kulon or whatever the name of the alien is like it's like projecting onto the ship talking to Gideon and company. JMS in the commentary is like, yeah, this scene shouldn't go this long, but I'm the kind of writer who doesn't know how to stop writing dialogue, so it's way too long, and he just doesn't stop talking. Sorry about that. I'm not always a good writer. Which is very funny, but again, it bums me out that like TNT was like, you can't talk bad about us, but you can shit on yourself as much as you want, but like you're allowed to call yourself a bad writer.
Right.
He's like hypercritical of himself in sometimes unfortunate way, but you know. I think Max's performance is more the actor than the script.
I agree. Yeah.
He's such a weird energy.
He's bringing a weird vibe. Yeah.
I can't even describe it as other than like bizarre and like almost B-movie-ish or like D-movie-ish.
Yes. It is very B-movie-ish.
And he's a hyper-capitalist. He says good business is good for everyone. You know, think about how much money we'll make because they're looking at sort of hieroglyphics on the walls and saying how he's like, oh, there's all this technology we can get from here and we can sell it and make tons of money. And Gideon right away reminding us of the focus of the show is like, is there a cure for the Drock plague in here? Is there any sort of medical data? And he's like, dude, who cares about medicine? There's big bucks in here, dude.
Yeah. He says, nations rise and fall, planets live and die, but corporations go on and on.
But I want to die. I want him to die. I want him to be killed swiftly, but I also love him.
Yeah, all of the Gideon Max scenes are very much like, I have one philosophy about life. Well, I have a different philosophy about life, and we disagree.
That's going to cause conflict. Haha.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
I adore Max. He's very fun. What are your thoughts on our main man, Gideon?
So Gary Cole's playing Captain Matthew Gideon.
Yeah.
something I like, and this is again partly influenced by that commentary, but Gideon feels like he has some shit he's not talking about.
Yes.
We see a little bit of it in the beginning and in the very end of this first episode.
Yeah.
The beginning with like the promise that he had to make and like how much is weighing on his back really makes me wish we saw him in a Call to Arms, because it feels like he is so key, obviously, to the.
It's really strange that we didn't. I think.
Yeah. Right. We saw Dorina and we saw. I mean, like one of the
Galen.
officers, and we saw Galen. Yeah.
It's like. It makes me sort of feel like I don't have a lot to hold on to when I know nothing about the main character, you know?
Right. And there's so many threads like where I just have to give the show like the benefit of the doubt, because like and to talk about like the end of the episode, for example, Gideon is asked by I think Galen, like, how did you know to go to that planet if that wasn't on our star charts? He's like, I have my sources. At the end, he goes into his room and he unlocks a cabinet, and inside of it is a big ass box, which seems to have some weird writing on it and speaks to him in a weird language. There's no way we ever find out what that is. It's like no way.
Yeah, we don't. I know something that was supposed to happen with it because I spoiled it for myself.
Right. I think the JMS commentary talks about what it was supposed to be also. So,
should we tell? Okay, here's spoiler warning.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's a spoiler warning that you can't.
Yeah, for a
you'll never find
show,
this.
You'll never watch the episode. But if you were planning on reading the scripts that haven't been filmed,
it's supposed to be like Gideon died at some point, and then his like consciousness was put into it, and he's talking to himself.
Yes, that's what JMS says.
Yes, he's like the voice is supposed to be it's Gary Cole's voice with a filter on it,
and so it's himself from like the future.
Or it's like he died in the past and then he got stuck in the box.
Okay.
What do you know?
I know that this is a bigger thing. Well, maybe it's not a bigger thing, but it's a slightly different thing. That the way the finale episode is scripted, a big part of it is that Gideon gets shot.
Like assassinated. Yes.
Yeah.
That's okay. Okay, so then that again, it's one of those things where like spoiling the show or not is so difficult, because it's like what's in the show and what's in the scripts that we've been given that we can like read about later. Right. So like that I knew, like the show's theoretically end, or the first season was going to end on like crosshairs pointed at Gideon's face. Like that's what does that mean? Who is going to be that person? I don't really know yet, or maybe I will never know. But that's what I understood, is that box is supposed to be like him trying to like give himself advice or something.
Yeah.
It's just one of those plot threads that seems way too large scale for a single season, and it wasn't really intended to be. So unfortunately, that's going to be a whiff for me.
Yep. It's called the Apocalypse Box. That's the name of it.
Yeah, which is dope as hell.
Yeah, that's cool. But who knows?
Alas.
It's really hard for me in some scenes to shake the fact that I only really know Gary Cole from Office Space.
Yeah.
As the boss. So when he talks to Max and he leaves, he's like, you better find me the equations or whatever. I just can't help but picture the TPS reports line happening.
Yeah, you better give me those TPS reports.
Like sometimes Gary Cole really feels right, and sometimes it's like, bro, you're the boss from Office Space.
I mean, he's mostly been in comedies, funnily enough. Like he's in Dodgeball and Talladega Nights and a bunch of cable stuff.
Because he looks like kind of a cartoonish version of like a cool guy. You know?
Yeah. Have you seen him in Veep? Have you seen the episodes of Veep that he's in?
Oh, maybe. What's his character in Veep?
He's Kent Davison. He's like, it's hard to describe. He's like one of the like just sassy characters. He's the senior strategist to the previous president and to Selena Meyer. He like runs her campaign.
I don't think I've seen him in Veep then.
Yeah, he's super duper deadpan in that, which is great. Yeah. But I mean, Gary Cole seems fine. It's just like it's a little bit weird casting. But I think he performs it surprisingly well, considering. But John, we got to get to the homunculus scene. Can we just get there?
Okay. Can we warm up with the other bad CG scene first?
Which one?
Where?
Oh, the sunglasses motorcycle boy.
Yeah, they just put Gary Cole in front of a green screen with a big fan and gave him sunglasses.
It rules.
This show
it owns
dumb,
and it rules.
Man. The show is dumb.
It's funny because Darina like is doing some like she's digging through dead bodies and she finds a gigantic yellow light. And I'm like, is that ever going to be addressed? And then someone's like, everyone report back. Someone's been murdered. And we have we have Gideon riding along in his big yellow motorcycle, to which JMS was like, this is the longest CGI scene in all of Babylon 5 and Crusade. And I was like, why? Why did you do that?
Yeah, not the space fights in like the Shadow War.
Not the amazing battles or like any of those shots of like, scale and different like beautiful architecture. Like, no, dude. It's Gideon riding a hover bike across a planet that we're never going to see again.
Ugh.
That's the CGI.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, the show's ambitious and sometimes in ways that I think is either really fun or really bad. Mostly the latter.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what gets us to the... Oh, yeah. So they're like, oh, what's like eating these people, or what's eating the... Like, why are people dying? Well, he was like vivisected and like cut open. His insides were taken out, which brings me to another JMS point, which is that he wanted this show to be like a horror show, kind of.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that.
He was like Babylon 5 was my chance to do political, and again I'm like paraphrasing. He's like, Babylon 5 was my chance to do political stuff, and then I wanted Crusade to be like a more personal, darker, scarier show, and like occasionally it would dip into horror elements like this, for example. And it's like, why, dude?
Yeah, also not scary.
There have been so many efforts to make horror television shows that, like, in recent memory, a lot of things have succeeded, between like the Riverdale multiverse and American Horror Story. A lot of people like. I remember there was that bad show there was a bad sci-fi show that I watched that was like billed as a sci-fi horror show, and it sucked because it's really hard to hold tension for that long.
Yeah.
And I think like the weird CG makes the whole show just have a weird vibe constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that gets in the way of it actually trying to be effectively horror in any way.
Yeah.
But Galen being the best character on the show, we're back on the Excalibur trying to talk to him about like all the stuff, because Gideon is attacked while he's on his fun speeder bike. Or no, is he in space, or is he attacked on the bike?
He's attacked on the bike, I think. Yeah.
And then he's like, I guess I'm dead. And then Galen last minute just eats him out and he's safe. We learn that he has saved his life before. He talks about how like he like words it funnily, right? He says like I saved a...
Yeah, because the thing, I guess their ship gets caught in a gravity field or something.
Sure.
That relates to the plot. And then Gideon's like, well, you've got one of those, you're techno mage. I hate how Gary Cole says techno mage.
Techno mage.
I hate that he says it, and I hate how he says it.
Techno mage.
He always says it like techno mage.
Yeah.
You've got one of your techno mage ships, so you could just fly out of this gravity well. And then Galen's like, well, I saved a small bird once, and now I feel an obligation to it. And he basically winks at him. Hey, that was you, buddy.
How can you not like Peter Woodward? He's so charming and fun.
He's great, but it doesn't make sense to me that Galen is like so personable.
Yeah. I mean, he's a technomage.
But the technomages are like distant, weird magic guys.
You want another distant, weird guy on the show? You don't want a wacky British...
No, I don't want a technomage.
Well, you have one. He's one of the best characters on the show.
I want a wisecracking... I want Peter Woodward as like a wisecracking guy who's British, but I don't want him to be a technomage.
Okay, I don't know what to tell you, except I love it.
All right.
But John, we did a poll on Twitter to be like, hey, what do you guys think about Electron? What was it?
You cast an Electron incantation on that poll.
No, I didn't. I joked about how I was going to seed the votes and I was going to like vote on multiple accounts. I didn't. I voted on my personal account once.
I could have sworn I voted on my account to say that it was dumb.
It might have not gone through because we got 100% of people who voted on that, 11 votes, who said Electron incantation sounds dope as fuck, and they're right, they're correct, and not wrong. No. But anyway, speaking of Electron incantations, Galen
I'm about to wake up.
Yeah.
This is the part of the nightmare that gets too scary.
Because you're like, okay, so how do we figure out, like, how do we bait? A lot of this show so far is like about baiting bad guys to do things. Mm-hmm. That club scene in the second episode is a great example of that. But Galen's making jokes that he says like the thing I talked about in the beginning, where it's like, I thought you said you don't hold a grudge, and then he just has to be so foppish. I have no surviving enemies at all, and it's like, you killed people, Galen.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, how do we bait the aliens into like taking someone, and we can see where it goes? And he's like, I got this. I'll make a homunculus. Cool idea, guys. It's so easy. Take Peter Woodward, just green screen him onto the planet. He looks at himself. We trust the viewer enough to understand that that's his homunculus. Easy, breezy, beautiful cover girl. Right? That's so easy, guys. You don't need to do anything weird here. Just put him on he can be in 2 scenes at once. No. His homunculus looks like a Fallout 1 character. He looks like I again, check the Twitter for my examples of this. He looks like the ending cutscenes to Tekken 1. This is like the peak late 90s like CG dude right here. This is like the peak performance, man. I love this homunculus.
So
good.
So
good.
Disgusting.
I loved him. He's my son.
Disgusting.
I personally cherish the Galen homunculus, and I never want it to leave. I want this to replace the regular Galen.
I think I out loud was like, what am I looking at right now?
It's so good. Are you kidding me, dude?
It seemed when he's walking under the archway, there's a moment where his arms are like 45 degrees out from his body or something.
Dude, that's how I walk. That's the only way I walk when I'm at the club.
And it's like, what is this, like, I zoomed into Sims 200% nonsense? You're not supposed to look at the game that close because there's nothing there.
There's nothing for you to look at. Stop looking at the Sims that close.
We didn't make them sexy. We didn't make them real.
It's like if you paused a sports game and you went to the audience. No, it's not even that, because the audience is usually like a flat image.
It's like if you paused a sports game and you were able to zoom in on the football players and clip through their helmets and see that they didn't bother to do a thing under there.
So why would you ever model that?
To see it.
Yeah, it looks placeholder, which I love. I think it's so good, guys. I'm not doing a bit. This isn't irony. Magellan and I are allowed to disagree on this. This is the kind of CG shit fest that I wanted out of this show.
Again, here's my thing. If we were watching like a random Sci-Fi Network show and we were just gabbing about the silliness of it, I would be delighted by this. I would be like, oh my God, did you see the part where the dude's head just pops off real slow and it's glowing for no reason? Do you see that bit? And then he's like, whips. Oh, my liver is flying out.
So funny.
I would love it. But this is a Babylon 5 spin-off. This is in the Babylon 5 universe, dude.
What it teaches me is this, Magellan, is when you do ships fighting, especially sci-fi ships, you have no bit. This is like the premise of Uncanny Valley, right? When you have no premise for what it's supposed to look like, you're like, okay, it floats through space, it shoots a laser. It doesn't look bad because I don't know what it's supposed to look like.
Right. Literally, shadow ships look ugly.
Sure. And like when
they look not good.
When Lita schlurps through the Vorlon ship, you're like, that looks bad because it looks unclear. It looks muddy.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't look disturbing the way that the Galen homunculus does, which is why he's my child and I want to protect him. But he sends off this homunculus that follows his movements, and I just imagine everybody on the ship being like, dude, what the fart are you doing? Like, you're just walking and being like, oh, my liver, and like your clone is being like opened up in half and having its head popped off, and meanwhile you're just standing there like, ow, oh, there it is. But the plot decides to move on. Nobody addresses this. It's amazing too, going back to the JMS commentary. He sounds so sad at the scene. He's just like completely deflated. Because before this, he's like, yeah, there's like all these cool ideas. And, you know, I love what I want. Like Galen and like Peter Woodward brings a really fun vibe to the show. And then that comes in. He's like, so this is the worst CG that they have on this program that we did. They did their best. You guys got to give them credit because this commentary was recorded like in the early aughts. So it's like after Crusade.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, at the time, like, this is really the best they could do. Like, we didn't have a giant budget. We had a pretty good team. They tried. They really tried. But it looks bad. It looks slow. It looks unrealistic. We know that. I see that.
Yeah.
And he just sounds so crestfallen. And then when he gets his head popped off, he's like, ooh, he literally, like, live is like, ooh, yeah, that's not supposed to go slowly. That was supposed to pop off really fast so you didn't look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept it for too long, and that's okay. It's fine.
Yeesh.
which again, like, I don't mean to like, we're not trying to like dunk on the people who made this, but like, it's just the 90s, man. Even like, there's that what's it called? Red Hot Chili Peppers, I think, music video from the 90s where it's like them in a video game. If anyone knows what I'm talking about,
okay, sure.
find that. Is it? Might just be able to find it. Red Hot Chili Peppers.
It made me think of the music video that was in the Weird Al movie UHF, the Beverly Hillbillies.
Oh, yes,
song.
yes, exactly. I was thinking of Californication. So go look up the Californication music video. It's that. It's exactly that.
Californication.
I used to be obsessed with that because I was like, I want all of these games to exist where you're like swimming and like snowboarding down a building.
Oh, I know. Okay, I know that video.
You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's exactly that. Like to the point where I'm like, is it the same studio? But so the Galen homunculus is cut in half, and they find out that it's being sent to like a ship graveyard where we see like other Babylon 5 ships. We see a Narn ship. We see a like a Varine ship or whatever they're called. People start talking. There's a lot of dialogue. I learned an amazing thing also from the commentary. There was 2 more people on the Excalibur with glasses, which I was like, wait, this has to be a thing now. Because we talked about how we've never seen people with glasses before. And now we're seeing 2 right next to each other. And the commentary, JMS is like, yep. So Mike Vehar really liked the idea of people having glasses that projected holograms in front of them. So everybody who's like on the crew has glasses so that they can see holograms. I was like, oh, so it's Google Glass.
Google Glass.
It's Google Glass.
Google Glass.
And he was like, yeah, and also he just likes reflecting lights off of things. Like, let's be super real. I was like, thanks, JMS. Appreciate you. Appreciate the honesty.
That's cute.
And then we get a battle scene because it's a pilot, I guess, and you have to have a battle scene in a pilot.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, Babylon 5 doesn't have that many big battle scenes like this. These battleships totally are just X-Wings also. Like, that's not even, they're not even trying to hide it.
Yeah.
Gideon makes a joke about how he's smart because he reads the manuals, so he knows how things work as he reads the manuals.
And then the thing is that we talk to these aliens.
Yeah, the Keeper.
And we learn that they are a society that also was poisoned by the Shadow Plague, but it was like the Shadows themselves who did it when they refused to work with the Shadows or refused to, live in a shadow sort of way. And so for 1,000 years, they've been trying to find a cure, and their thing is they still haven't found one. So their entire population is in cryostasis, and they let like one person wake up every couple of years to be the keeper of their society. And nothing yet. Nothing yet.
It was like, yeah, every 3 years we wake someone up and say like, hey, is there a cure yet? No? Fuck. All right.
And their thing, we get this moment that again, it's like a
Very
BioShock game moral choice.
Yeah.
Where we learn that this alien race has been capturing other aliens and vivisecting them to try to get biological data and figure out if they can find a cure. And they're like, what's the big deal? You kill 100 people, you save 1 billion people. It's not a problem. And the guy has this line of like, wouldn't you kill 100 to save 100 billion? What about 1,000? What about 10,000?
Where do you draw the line, right?
Yeah. And then Max is like, come on, it's not a big deal. Yeah, we'd kill 100 Narns to save Earth. Like, yeah, let's just do it. And he's like, hey, if they're the ones doing it, then like we're not doing it. And Gideon's response, I could almost see the UI show up in front of him. That's like,
yes,
the red arrow points to, all right, we'll take your data, and the blue arrow points to what he actually says, which is like, get them out of my sky,
blast them out of here.
Yeah. And then he's like, when we get the cure, we'll come back and we'll save you. And then we'll put you on trial for what you've done. And I literally wrote in my notes, Gideon is lawful good. Like, that was the choice that his player made.
He got big Paragon points for that. It's true. Yeah, and then it's just like, I agree. That whole thing kind of soils the like thematic message of the episode, which is like, who do you seek help from, and like the sacrificing of the few for the many, like all of that stuff. Very low level thematic work happening here on the show so far.
Yeah. And I
wish I could say I hope for better. Go ahead.
No, I think it's really interesting and like a cool concept that there's this race that's had to keep itself in cryostasis because they still can't find the cure. And I think it's also a really compelling question of like, is it okay for them to be dissecting sentient beings? And you get into this utilitarian argument of like, shouldn't you just be wanting to save the most lives? I just think that the way the scene was presented was really corny.
Right. I mean, this is a show that now actually also starts with the guy getting vivisected being like, do. Oh no!
Yeah.
It's a goofy show, and I've accepted that. So I'm like not looking for that many big thematic ideas, but like when you see them, it's like, oh, that's nice. And that was kind of my thing with the second episode, which we'll get to. But this episode also ends with Gideon talking about how he takes a hard line against this guy Kulan. They leave. Max talks a bunch, and then he's like, "Shut up, Max." Mm-hmm. Which you might as well have been like, "Dun dun dun, Iris Hin," or something like that.
Right.
Apparently that's not. I mean, that was obviously dubbed afterwards because it's an outside shot of the ship. But JMS was like, "Yeah, we wanted like a more fun cap than what we had, so we added that line afterwards."
Mm-hmm.
Like, whatever, guys. He goes and he checks the box. The box is like gives him an Ace of Spades card. It mumbles some nonsense at him, and it tells him where to go next. So, on one hand, if this was a show that I knew lasted, I'd be like, "Whoa, cool mystery." But knowing that it doesn't, I'm like, "Oh, bummer."
Yeah. That was my feeling. When you were watching Babylon 5 and you saw something, you could be like, "Whoa, cool! This is gonna get fully explained."
There's a hole in your mind. What does that mean?
And in this, it's like, "Whoa, cool! That's nothing.
That's never getting explained."
Yeah, right.
It brings to, and this is actually going to be something I think we'll talk about more and more through this show. But it's like, how much do you want that? Like, do you want to see a full episode where that's explained? Because like there are scripts that explain most of the things that we have questions about. But then it's like, well, I want to watch this be filmed. Why do I want to watch this filmed if this is like the script? Like,
I just want to know what the like. It doesn't seem like what the 5-season arc of the show is supposed to be is clear.
Right, because he talks a lot about how the Drock Plague was supposed to be solved in 2 seasons.
Yeah, I want to know what JMS thought Crusade was going to be, really.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's not, I don't care a whole lot about, like, what is this box? I'm kind of interested in that, but I'm more interested in, like, does this box exist for the whole show?
Yeah.
What does it lead to after we've solved the plague and we realize like we solved it with the help of this like box that has some sort of price attached to it? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm wondering about. Right.
It's all questions on it probably not be answered, but things to chew on, things to munch on. Do you have any stray thoughts on this episode?
Just that Max, the guy who's playing Max, I think I basically said this, but like he has big Travolta energy, and I really want to make sure that's the term that we use. He's got BTE. BTE.
Dr. Sarah Chambers, I think, gets more cool moments in the second episode, but her lines in the beginning of this one were a little awkward, where she's like, "Our resident thief, Dorina, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, no, you're the exposition doctor. Mm-hmm. But she definitely becomes a character in the second one, briefly. She has no time to do anything. Oh, well.
That's all I got, really.
Cool. Well, this conversation's already gone long, and we don't have any emails because we are recording a week ahead. So we'll be right back after this brief musical break to discuss the needs of Earth. Welcome back to Chatzylon 5.
Hey.
Hi. Hey, welcome back. Hey,
I
guys.
wanna do it.
We're back to discuss the next
No,
episode.
it's my thing.
No, I know it's your thing, but you also did the sync at the beginning. We're mixing it up. It's season 6.5,
But they
baby.
didn't hear the sync.
Fine. You can have it. Go ahead.
Welcome back to Chatzylon 5.
Well, this week we watched The Needs of Earth.
Sorry, welcome back to Chatzylon 5, season 6.5. Wait.
Go, scroll up.
Wait.
Scroll up.
Wait. Welcome back to Chatzylon 5 presents Crusade Chats.
Good.
It's me, Magellan. I'm here.
Somehow.
So is Alan. The
Wow.
second episode that we watched this week was the only season of Crusade. Broadcast episode 11. JMS Order episode 2. It was written by JMS.
What's it called? It's called Be Quiet.
It's
called Quiet Time.
Yeah. It's called The Needs of Earth. It's written by JMS, directed by Michael Vehar. It aired August 18th, 1999, and it takes place in April of 2267. So it happens earlier than the other episode?
It seems so. According to the wiki chronology, I double-checked this time.
What?
I don't know, Magellan.
my
It doesn't...
God.
Everything's broken. We're in a broken timeline. Here's what happens in this episode. Can I just tell you?
Yeah.
Gideon and Darina Nafil free a notorious prisoner possessing stolen data crystals, which bear important information on an alien culture. The captain discovers that the treasure trove of data offers not medical science, but a special form of hope. So how does this episode fail, Magellan? Tell me what it does wrong.
I don't know. I checked out. I stopped watching.
Look at this. Look at this. I'm pointing as if like there's an audience looking at you. Look at this co-host of mine who's like, Alan, we watch 2 episodes of a cult classic TV show every week, and one of them I slept through the whole thing.
I didn't sleep.
I know, but tell me what happened in the episode.
I don't know what happened in the episode.
To be fair to you,
here's what I
Magellan.
know. Let me try to recap it, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
Here's my attempt
Go ahead,
to
do it.
recap it.
Go ahead, do it.
So, how does it start?
Oh my god!
It
starts with the best scene. Gideon's watching dirty alien porn.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. So there's this horrible scene where Gideon is intently watching alien porn and doesn't break away when someone walks in. Isn't bothered by that at all. He's just totally horching his chaunch right there in the
He's
office.
not horching his chaunch. He's just watching.
You don't know what horching and chaunch mean.
I can infer.
Well, you inferred wrong.
Good.
He's
horching. It means sipping his mug, right?
Yeah, he's sipping his mug. Exactly.
Oh, shoot, you're so right.
You dirty man.
No.
That scene's dumb. We'll talk about it in a second. Then, for some reason, there's a guy who comes on board. Oh, yeah, he's like, hey, I can tell you some stuff about some things. And then turns out he's like part of this race of aliens that doesn't learn other people's languages.
Mm-hmm.
And then those guys come on board and they're like, hey, do you have our guy? And they're like, no, we don't. Well, we do. Here you go. And then they kill the guy, like blow him up. And he was like a cool resistance guy.
Yeah.
And then we spend like 20 minutes being sad. And then the episode ends.
That's pretty spot on.
Okay, cool.
I'm so proud of you.
Thanks.
What I was going to say, because I was going to defend you, bud, is the thing about Crusade is that because like the timeline is off, the plots are off, everything is a little bit like slow and weirdly paced, is it's really easy to check out during this show and just be like, I don't know, dude, like just space shit's happening.
It's just like when I see the race of aliens whose thing is that their heads look like plaster fun time.
That might be a local reference, bud.
It is, because I've referenced it before and people are like, what are you talking about? Plaster Fun Time is a place where you get plaster molds and you paint them and have a fun time.
It's like a children's thing.
Yeah, how local is it? Is it too local?
Lower your voice. Boy. Let me see locations.
Yeah. Do we need to cut out the name of Plaster Fun Time? Did I make it too local?
No, you just have, that's just the state. It's only this state, Magellan.
It's all over Massachusetts?
Yes.
Okay. Taxachusetts, as they say.
Uh-huh.
It's full of a bunch of massholes, right?
Exactly right. So
wait, I have a point. When I see the
never ever be like, hold on, podcast goes, I have a point, I'm gonna say it now. Never do that.
Why?
Because it's too good. You're too good of a podcaster. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. When I see the race of aliens whose heads look like plaster fun time, I'm like, I know that these people don't come back or
nobody comes back. It's a 13 episode cancel that show.
Yeah, so when I see the plot start, I'm like, all right, I'm done.
Okay. You might not like Star Trek if you have to accept that like this is the plot of this episode.
I literally had that thought when I was watching this. I was like, I don't want to watch a show with like random sci-fi nonsense. And then I was like, wait, a lot of sci-fi shows are that.
Right, that's what you end up liking about B5 is like, here's the characters, here's the ensemble, and here's their plot. But a lot of like, especially early Star Trek is just like, dude, we know who our crew is, but meanwhile, this plot, like these characters, these new aliens are what we care about. And that works when the performances are good and it has something to say about the greater themes of the program or about the world, which this kind of tries to, but it does it, like you said, 15 minutes before the end of the episode and then just kind of talks. People just talk, which I like. Again, JMS talking in the commentary for the first one, like he knows how to write long-winded dialogue, and criticizes himself for that. I don't have a commentary for this one. The only other episode that has a commentary in our DVDs is, do you know which one it actually is? I just forgot. I'm sorry. I walked into that point.
It's called like The Well of Hope or something like that.
It's The Well of Forever.
The Well of Forever, yeah.
That one has Peter Woodward, Carrie Dobro, Janet Greek, and Fiona Avery on it. We both have that.
Yes, we do.
So we'll try to watch that one with the thingy when we get to it. But
yeah, that's going to be our episode 6. It looks like
cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, to get back on track, so Gideon's watching nasty porn because it looks like Max got a data disk that he overwrote. It's just a VHS joke. Like that's the whole extent of this gag, and they drag it out through the whole episode.
Yep. Because it's a VHS joke and a porn joke, dude, also.
Yeah. Check drink every time Crusade gets unnecessarily horny. Someone told us that.
And there's like moaning. It's like not even a quick little joke.
It's a realistic sounding porn. Yes.
It's like, hey, I'm actually now watching this show on a DVD on my TV, and I don't want my TV to be sounding like that. Crusade?
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Could we not? Could this not be the bit?
And it's like an alien like on top of like a lady in like a very realistic pornographic way, and he's like taking his stuff off, and you're like, no. But they actually talk about how like, oh, the anatomy of that doesn't work. Like that's not real. Like the Dr. Chambers comes in on Gideon, who's again just standing there with his hands over the table, sipping from his mug, and she's like, are you having fun watching this weird? And she's like mesmerized by the fact that like, oh, that alien can't do that with that alien. Weird. Because it's artistic license, and they're like, wow, the things you can do with technology. Max really wants his porn back. He's like, Gideon, can I get that porn back, please, please, please? And Gideon's like, no, dude, I don't even have it. I'm lying to you, and I'm gonna use this as blackmail.
Mm-hmm.
We get our mission.
For what purpose exactly? Just cause
he wants to have blackmail on Max, just in case.
He just doesn't like Max.
How could you? Just kidding. I love
Max.
him. I would die for him.
Yeah.
They have a mission to go rescue a guy on a planet. Doreen is coming on the mission. All the CG here is terrible. We didn't get a chance to talk about him, but underrated, apparently main cast character of the year, Lieutenant John Matheson, played by Daniel Day-Kim.
He's great.
It's like Daniel Day-Kim's an amazing actor.
Yeah.
He's been acting for years and years and years. He's like a little too good to be on the show, kind of.
Yeah, especially since they give him nothing to do.
Ooh, that was good. Whoa, that was a good note.
Thank you.
Yeah, the scene where he later on is like doing his
diary thing, that was great. Oh my
wonderful.
Gosh. Mwah. Chef's kiss.
Just delicious. If people like Daniel Day-Kim, go watch him on Lost. He's like one of the best characters on
Also,
that.
we learn in that he has telepathic powers.
Oh yeah, he's a telepath, dude. Yes.
Yeah, cool. All right.
Hate to say, I think I did know that at some point.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
That's something I did not know. He drops that there are new rules for telepaths now.
Yep.
Pretty cool. I don't know that we'll get that.
You can't.
explained.
It's like you can't show. No. There's no way. but it's like you can't show your powers. So like he was reading the guy, but not showing that he was doing it, and he couldn't say anything about it because then it would be illegal. But before we get there, the mission is that they have to go rescue one of these big-brained people from this planet. Darina's like, I'm coming with you because I was a slave and I've been to this planet before. I know the layout. Darina just like vomiting her plot at Gideon is very funny. She's like, I was a slave. I was a slave. I was enslaved. People paid for me. My parents sold me on the market to pay off their debts. And that's my entire character, is that I'm a former slave. Are we going to address that and talk about what that means, like for class or for anything politically? Absolutely not. I just am the slave thief.
Right. We are going to make it super obvious before it's explicitly said, though, by doing this like lingering shot on her touching her wrists.
Oh, it's so much.
Gideon like looks at it and looks at the chains and looks back and looks at the chains on someone else again and looks back, and she's still touching her wrists. And he's like, these things seem related.
What could it possibly be?
That scene was so extended and silly.
That felt like a whole like dungeon, and I keep bringing up like the video game reference, or a whole like combat encounter. Because they get onto the planet. Well, actually, we do the poison glove thing first, which I think you said in your notes that you kind of liked.
Yeah, I just like the way that they get into this little club, or this whatever it is, this hideaway, is that there's an access panel on the surface of the planet, and the planet is all gassy and poisonous. And Darina is like, I can't put in the codes, Lindsay, the codes.
Yeah,
right?
I got the Lindsay's codes. Exactly.
Lindsay's codes. Shout out to Freaks Chats.
Mm-hmm.
Darina can't put in the code because the fingers on her spacesuit are too big, so she has to take her gloves off. But the gloves are part of the hermetically sealed spacesuit, so she has to like slowly risk dying to be able to punch in the thing. Sort of like when you have to take your gloves off to use your touchscreen.
Right. I stopped wearing my cool leather gloves because I want to just get touch capacitive gloves. They have those. You can just get that.
My gloves have that, but it doesn't work.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Well, it's sort of like a cheap version of it, and
where it's just old, the threads are thinner or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have gloves like that, but I lost them. My current ones I just take off. Like I do what she's doing here. Yeah. On one hand, I like that this is supposed to be like she's willing to help people. She's willing to help Gideon. She is like selfless a little bit, and she understands stakes. On the other hand, the second the scene ends, we don't address the fact that she just poisoned herself at all.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like she just couldn't breathe for a little while, and now she's fine.
Right.
But it would have been pretty silly if she died trying to put in an access code.
Absolutely, just for this weird nonsense plot.
And Gideon was just there like, oof.
Oh, man, I enabled this.
Yikes, she died for me.
And he decides to be selfless for her, because once they get into the club, she's like, I need to distract everybody here so that I can go do sneaky things. And he's like, okay, I'm the captain. This is like big John Crichton energy. Where he's like, how do I get my sneaky thief friend to get around people? I'll punch the biggest guy in the room in the face.
Yep.
He just does him. The guy's like, hey, and throws him on a table and just starts kicking the crap out of him. While Darina touches like a blue panel that makes lights come out. Mm-hmm. A fancy cowboy, I'm not making this up, a fancy silent cowboy comes up to her, looks at her in the eye, and then she's like, uh-oh. And before we come back from commercials, we're like, is she in trouble? But he comes by, and then it's like, oh, he's from the Thieves Guild.
Again, the existence of a Thieves Guild is a very D&D sort of thing.
Absolutely. And like people reporting to guilds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Distracting more guards, they go through, they find the extortionist whose name is Red Jack, which I note only because that's a really corny name that they also used in the fantasy season of Friends at the Table for a character who I like a lot more than this character, this jokey character. And it's a DC character. Red Jack is like a very common name for like weird villains and stuff. To distract these guards, like just corny as hell, Gideon puts on the porn on the data disk, and a bunch of guards are like, hey, wait a minute. Ooh.
Wow, you can't do that.
And then every time somebody looks at this video, they like tilt their head because the genitalia, I guess, must move in some weird way. And they're like, how does that work? Very quickly, they find the target. They bag him up. They call for a ride home. he's like, Dorina, why are you here? Why do you want to help people? And then she's like, I just want to help the freaking slaves, dude. Come on. She makes a whole big deal about that.
Come on, but slavery's legal in this part of the galaxy. What's the big deal?
And she's like, I was one, in case you forgot. And just because it's legal doesn't mean it's good, which she's fine. We stan a woke queen, to be honest.
Yeah, we do stan her.
I love this moment where Matheson is like, all right, we got the message. We're going to be good. We're about to, give this guy to the aliens and be fine. Hold on. Stand by. And then Gideon's like, please don't say stand by when we're one word away from good news.
Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah.
He's got some cute little quips, this Gideon guy.
Yeah. Every once in a while, it's fun. They know how to have fun sometimes.
I just want to see him loosen up a little bit.
I'm loosen the shirt a little bit. Get a different outfit. He does get a different outfit soon. I think. I don't know how time works.
Well, soon is relative. Yeah.
Exactly. Time isn't real in Crusade. So the alien can't understand Dr. Chambers because his race forbids him from learning other languages. Very cool world building idea.
Yeah,
not really addressed, but cool. Well, kind of addressed because they are trying to keep their culture as pure as possible, so that because they're dying out, as we learn later, they don't want to bring in other people's cultures and mess anything up. So he's got his whole deal is he has this device with him, and Chambers is like, "Can you put it down? Do you understand me?" And he's like, "I won't put it down until I know I can trust the people around me not to take it." And she's like, "How do you trust us?" And he's like, "Don't worry about it." So we have all the aliens. We have this thing where there's a translating brain alien talking for another brain alien. And this reminded me of I feel like this was exactly an Ivanova plot in B5, where there was a guy translating for another guy.
Yeah, there was that thing that wanted to have sex with her or whatever.
Yes, I think it was that.
Yeah. This is a little different, maybe.
Yeah, I mean it's not identical, but it reminded me.
But yeah, I can't remember if it was a joke that the translator was mistranslating on purpose in that Ivanova episode.
Oh
or not.
yeah, that was season 2 or something. It was so long ago.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly how it went, but I was amused when Gideon was like, "Tell your boss that I fucking hate him," and the alien was like, "I just told him that you want to kiss his feet." And what's the exchange? The line exchange is so the line is Gideon says, "You do this a lot," and lie to protect his ego, and the guy's like, all the time. It's a political thing,
right? Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know what was the context of the guy listening to Mozart. I guess he was just enjoying human culture.
Yeah, he was just peeking in on Gideon's tapes because he just loves music and art. I really liked when we saw the video of him being the resistance dude on his own planet, and he was like, "I saved all the books ever because I care about culture, even though they were trying to destroy it." And then this Mozart exchange is actually really well written. Not actually, it's really well written. And in a way that's better than this plot would be, what you would expect. The alien guy's like, "This is yours," and Gideon says, "Yeah, it's Mozart." And then the guy's like, "One of you made all of this."
Oh, I love this part. Yeah.
And then Gideon's like, "Yeah, he made whatever amount of things by the time he was 35. And then this line is so good. Gideon says, "When I find myself getting too smug, I remind myself that when Mozart was my age, he'd been dead for 6 years."
You wish you could write a line that good. Are you kidding me?
Good line.
Oh, yeah, I get a little chilly.
Line, man.
And it's what makes it good. It's just it reads well. It's got a musicality to it. It's poetic. It's everything that makes a good stinger of a line.
Yeah, and it tells you everything you need to know about Gideon, because he's kind of funny, but he's also really thoughtful and also kind of sad,
fatalistic. Yeah. It's wonderful, and then the next couple of scenes give me hope that there will be more cool ideas in this show.
Yeah, I liked where this plot went. It's just that it's so not anything, because this show isn't anything.
Right. It's it can't be. Yeah. Everything that seems like it's going to lead somewhere cool is oh, this leads to a dead end. That's so sad. So what we find out is that the data crystals were revealed to contain the culture and art of the aliens' dying planet. because they were being destroyed by, and this is like another like great monologue that is a classic like JMS just like hitting you over the head with politics, where he's like, the art that we were making was too subversive and it doesn't line up with the needs of the state. Like as soon as you're talking about the state, I know you're like, you give a shit about
you watched MTV in the 90s.
Fuck. Come on, man. No, but it's just like, it's like they're saying the thing. They're just getting right into it. And like that is the like efficiency that Crusade has, that like with being such a short show, it's like, oh, they can just do that. Yeah. We can say that, we can have that moment, and then we can move on. So this race was being wiped out by their higher ups, and so he kept this data crystal with like the most beautiful songs and art and culture that he could find. And Chambers spends the rest of the episode listening to it. She's got AirPods in the whole time. But we just start cutting to like everybody's. I've talked about this a lot on Chatzylon 5, but I love when we see everyone's like late night bedtime routines. So we get like everyone's here. We get Matheson, who is like in his nice shirt, and he's recording a diary about faith. We talked about this. He said when he was in church school as a kid, they asked everybody like if they would have stopped Christ from being crucified.
Great.
Because
oh man, that's good.
It's so good, right? It's like Babylon 5 is checking Wikipedia page. Babylon 5 major themes, faith, and you're like, yes, good. Because if you would feel bad for not stopping it, because you could have kept Christ from being killed, but at the same time, like, would any of his messages, like, would he have been still a sacrificial figure if he didn't die in that way? And so in saying that, he's like, also, I totally heard through my telepathy that like the council was never going to keep that guy alive. He never had a chance of living, and I could have told them that, but due to the rules and due to the fact that I thought like him dying would be a good thing in some like greater good way, I didn't stop that. And I feel really conflicted about that because I had the power to do it and I didn't do it.
Yeah.
There we go, guys. You made Matheson a character in one fell swoop. It's beautiful work.
And Daniel Day Kim just crushes it.
Yes. I want more of him. I want more of this stuff. Brilliant that we get a whole like beautiful plot about telepaths with no visual like evidence of telepathy. You can just talk about it and that works just as well, if not better. More late night routines. Gideon he starts visiting everyone. He visits Dr. Sarah, who's still jamming out, talking about how he takes death too personally because of his tragic past. He's like, I worry that I'm killing people. I worry that people are dying on my hands and I don't want that to happen. This is like a good conversation for a captain of a ship to have. And she's saying like, she starts just saying the name of the episode over and over again because he's like, yeah, we have to give this up for the needs of Earth. And she's like, keeping culture is in line with what is the needs of Earth. Like we need to keep other people's cultures as well as ours because they would have kept ours, and it's the only thing that's fair. It's the only thing that keeps their essence alive.
Yeah,
it's not a like a serum. Maybe the crystal. It's sort of like maybe the cure to the Drock plague is the culture of Earth and the friends we made along the way, or something like that.
Right.
And then finally he visits Doreena's quarters where she's in her nighttime clothes sharpening a knife on a whetstone because that is her character.
Yeah, awesome.
And he's like, I'm going to leave you with this. She's like, what is it? He's like, it's hope. And then she tells him that she was actually sold into slavery by her parents to pay off their debts. And as he leaves her with that, and she says, when do you want it back? He says, when you're done with it. And then he walks out to a really corny pan flute solo. And he goes back to his quarters to go to bed.
Oof, the music, my friend.
Yeah, so I didn't mention this in the first half, but my favorite quote from JMS in that commentary is just a really offhand one where he's just like a nothing scene. It's like after the hoverbike scene where he's like, yep, that's the soundtrack from Evan Chen. Yeah, he was like really, really new, you guys. This was like one of his first gigs, and that's all he says. And I'm like, ooh, he just gutted the composer in one fell move. Oh my god, he knows.
Yeah, he knows.
You don't want to say that though. That's a bad look. But he's just like, yeah, he's new. Be nice, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The theme song is the best word I have for it is uneventful.
Yes.
Because there's the part where. First of all, we didn't talk about this either, but you were able to match the font of the theme song, the questions. It's like Galen asking the Vorlon in the shadow and some other questions, and the words come up, and the font Do you want to tell people?
Yeah. He's like, who are you? What do you want? All that stuff. And Gideon's answering him. But the font that's coming up when it says, who are you? It's exactly the font used in the "you wouldn't download a car" advertisement from the 90s. That was like to like anti-piracy measures. It's exactly that font.
Right.
The like messy, grungy white on black font.
Yeah. And so there's one of the questions is, who do you serve and who do you trust? Which is an interesting one.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. I don't know that I am as compelled by that question as some of the other ones. But it does make you ask certain things about like, how is this show going to work? And like, what was the arc or the plan really?
Right.
If it's all about who are we working for and like who can we count to be who they say they are and who can't. And then it shows all the people's faces. And in that stretch where there's no words, you're just listening to the music and you're like, nothing's happening right now.
Yeah, there's no swell. There's no like big mo. I felt weird putting it as the podcast intro this time because I was like, the Babylon 5 intro is good, guys.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, don't like do exactly that again. Like make a different intro, but like this is kind of bad. And the visual motif of like the sword being the representation of the Crusade, JMS being like, he basically says, I really wanted there to be a sword. And I was like, there's an off quote somewhere else about how he wanted Dorina to like, that's one of his like big story plans was like she was gonna leave the show for a little bit and come back with a sword. And I was like, JMS, like, what's your thing with swords, dude? What is your deal?
Yeah.
Because the sword like pierces the logo and then it's like Crusade. It's cool. It's corny. It's extremely corny and messy. And I think that's like how I would describe these first two episodes. But we're in for a fun journey, man.
Yeah, it's there was enough in here that I could enjoy it when I was able to detach myself from what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
When I was just able to focus on like, oh, that's a really interesting idea for an alien race that we encounter once, that they like refuse to learn other languages and they refuse to get other people's culture.
Yeah.
What's up with those people? I'm invested in learning more about them. But then when there's any sort of gesturing at the larger plot or any sort of gesturing at things needing to be important, I just get bummed out and I don't really care.
It makes you just want to watch something else sometimes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, as a capper to Babylon 5, it's just I'm endlessly fascinated by this show's existence and how it plays out, but it's a mess. It's a flaming hot mess. From the jump too. It's not like it becomes a mess. Like it starts really messy.
Yeah.
But anyways, with no stray notes, Magellan, I think it's time to tell the listeners what we're listening to, what we're watching next time on Chatzylon.
Yeah. Let me go get my DVD box set so I can read those summaries.
Oh, fabulous. Please do that. So normally I would edit this part out, dear listener, because it's just dead air. But I'll instead talk about how, hey guys, we're talking about Crusade. Are you having fun? We're talking about, isn't it great? I love Crusade so far. It's weird and good.
Yes, I do.
Hey,
something that we haven't mentioned yet is second build here, at least within the box set, is Tracy Scoggins as Captain Elizabeth Lockley.
Oh, true. I can't even say she hasn't showed up yet, because maybe she has. Who knows how time works? Truly.
Yeah, but she wasn't in the two episodes we watched.
Right.
But she's in the show.
Yeah, she's main billing.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So I guess we're going to see her a few times, which is cool. Okay, so again, we're watching these episodes in an order prescribed by JMS that is contrary to the broadcast order, which means however you're watching the show, whether you're watching on, is it on Amazon to purchase?
It is.
If you're purchasing it on Amazon or watching it some other way, or you are watching on the DVDs like us, you're going to be jumping around to watch in the order that we're doing. So next week we are watching first off The Memory of War, and The Memory of War is broadcast episode 10. So
it was right before The Needs of Earth.
In between the two that we watched for this week.
Right.
The Memory of War, the summary says, a virus-devastated planet may provide a paradigm for the Earth's plight. If Excalibur's researchers survive their visit there, when night falls, crew members fall victim to a stalking creation of artificial intelligence.
Okay,
so that sounds like a horror thing.
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, hell no. Sorry, I forgot I'm not supposed to like this.
And so if you're on the DVDs, that's on disc 3. Then we are watching broadcast episode 2, which is called The Long Road. So that'll be on disc 1 if you're with us on the DVDs. The Long Road, the summary says, Earth's desperate strip mining of an antiviral agent mineral threatens the tiny planet with eco-disaster and public insurrection. If the wizardly skills of Alwyn, Edward Woodward, can't conjure up a solution. So I guess that's his dad?
That's the real actor's dad. I don't know if it's the character's dad.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Galen's dad.
More techno mages, I guess.
Yes. Feed me, Seymour. Feed me, techno mages. I love it. I'm having fun.
Bro.
You're having fun.
Yeah, I am having fun. You're right.
That's good. I'm
You're
glad
right.
to hear it. Anyways, let's take it to the plug zone. New chat season, kind of, but still the same old plug zone. If you would like to send us emails, questions, comments, concerns, send those over to chatspod@gmail.com. You can also hit us up on Twitter at chatspod, CHATZPOD. As always, of course, if you send us voicemail comments, we will play those in the middle segment, or emails, we'll read them. Either way works. We can also be found on iTunes, where you can rate us. Hopefully you think we're a 5-star podcast. I would like to think we are. We're trying to branch out and do a lot of fun things. For example, we're on Reddit. If you want to discuss chats with us and the listeners, reddit.com/r/chatspod is a fan-made subreddit where every week we're actually going back and listening to old chats episodes and discussing them in a thread, which has been really fun. We're in like the early goings of Farscape right now, but what I'm learning is like, sometimes our chats was like good that early. Sometimes the audio sounds like hot doo-doo, but otherwise,
Right.
It's like hints of really cool ideas. If you'd like to support us financially, and we do very much recommend you do so, patreon.com/chatspod. You'll get a lot of bonus content on there at $1 and $3 and $5 a month. You get all sorts of stuff like a bi-weekly hangout show, a bi-weekly pilot watching show, and a monthly movie commentary. We just put out our commentary a little over a week ago for X-Men: The Last Stand, which was a ton of fun. I was wondering recently if people are like actually listening to those commentaries or just listening, like skipping to the end. You should go watch a movie with us. It's fun. X-Men: The Last Stand is way better than I thought it was.
It's not the bad one.
Yeah, exactly. And it was always billed to me afterwards as like that was the trashy one. It's like, no, it's kind of like good. It's kind of like well acted and good.
Mm-hmm.
But you can hear us rediscovering that on the Patreon. Magellan, what's your chat for this week, pal?
Oh, well, the other thing that's going on the Patreon.
Oh, yeah.
Since we're recording this early, we're sort of not in the holiday spirit. But hey, when you're listening to this, Christmas just happened.
Hey, Merry Christmas.
Sleigh bells ring, right?
If you celebrate.
Are you listening? Okay. In the lane. Yep. What are they doing? Snow is glistening. All right.
Oh, okay.
A beautiful sight
Wow.
we're having tonight.
Wow. What are we doing?
We're walking in a winter wonderland.
Wow. Thanks, Marge.
In the Patreon, we will release bonus content.
Oh, the whole needs a chatsman.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We, as a gift to our patrons, every single day for 12 days starting on Christmas, we have been releasing just kind of extra stuff. So go, if you're not a patron, we highly encourage you. Any level of patronage, even $1, gets you all of these extra little bonus gifts and things that we're calling Chats Snacks. And there's some fun, crusty old stuff. There's some fun, crusty new stuff. Just all sorts of things. And then the other thing is, hey, keep your eye on the main feed over the next couple days, and you might see something new.
New year, new podcast thing, new us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, you were wondering what my Chatsum was.
I was. Chatsum, instead of plugs, we do for ourselves, and we don't do Twitter or anything like that. We do Chatsums where you recommend a thing, an idea, a movie, a show, whatever, anything, literally anything.
Mm-hmm.
What you got?
Well, I love fidget toys.
That's true.
I do a lot of fidgeting. It doesn't necessarily reduce my fidgeting or make me calmer, but it's fun. And I'm playing with my newest fidget toy right now, which is a little something I picked up on Amazon. You can find lots of different versions of it there. It's called an infinity cube, and it's this cube that just keeps opening.
Oh.
And you can keep opening it.
Oh.
And it's really nice.
Infinity cube, eh?
Yeah, so if you like fidget toys, get the infinity cube.
Why didn't they call the cube that Gideon talks to the infinity cube? Why'd they goof up like that?
Yeah, I actually call this little fidget toy the apocalypse box.
Abocalypse.
Apocalypse.
Cool. Yeah, I love you were like you were like into the fidget cube before anyone was into fidget spinners.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, you're a trendsetter basically.
Heck yeah.
Well,
what's your Chatsum, friend?
Yeah, as we reach the end of the year, I know a lot of people are going to the movies. If you're looking for a movie to watch with the friends, I guess it's a family movie. The problem is like this movie's a little bit like it's about a messed up family in a lot of ways. It's called Knives Out.
I thought you were gonna say they're the Skywalker family.
Yeah, it's a Skywalker. I'm just gonna go ahead and say if we chat summing the new Star Wars movie is illegal. That's a blocked.
What? That's gonna be my next Chatsum after we see it.
I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm sure people are gonna see it, dude. Everyone listening is gonna see it.
In the lane is a new bird, a beautiful sight.
At least he finally got the Red Hot Chili Pepper song out of me. Oh, no, it's back. Between episode halves, we watched the music video for Californication because it looks like the Galen homunculus. But anyways, Knives Out. That's my Chatsum. It's Rian Johnson directing an ensemble cast of fun white people solving a murder mystery that one of them committed. It's awesome. It's like Clue if Clue was about racism. It's really funny. I laughed so hard. And all I can tell you that'll sell you is that who's Daniel Craig does a Foghorn Leghorn accent throughout the whole movie, and like
oh yeah,
like, what? Like, do you want anything else? That's all you need. It's so
great.
Good.
That sounds delightful.
It is delightful. I can't recommend it enough. Knives Out. Check it out.
Groovy stuff, man.
And that, dear listener, is gonna do it for this episode of Chatzylon 5. Magellan, I wanted to say something charming about how it's the last Chats episode of the year. And thank you to all the people. But I also just, at the end of the day, remember, it's about you, man. Thank you for being the rock to my heart place.
Oh, my God.
Thank God? It's what?
I said, oh, my God.
Oh.
That's so sweet.
Thank God it's about
me. Our first official episode that was released on this feed was released on, I think, December 31st of 2015. Is that right?
That's right. I believe that's right.
So we're closing out 4 years of chats, and here's looking forward to 4 more, and maybe some more after that. Let's see. Let's keep reassessing. No, I'm just kidding.
Get back to me in 4 years. I will see you in a million years.
A million years. Yeah, that's how I want to think about chats. I'll see you. I'll keep seeing you over the course of a million years.
Indeed. So yeah, thanks as always to you for being the best co-host I could ask for. Thank you to the listeners for sticking with us. We're getting into some weird weeds now, folks, and we're going to be transitioning to a new show in a couple of weeks too. So if you're like, "Ugh, Crusade seems dumb," first of all, you're right, and that's why you should watch it.
Yeah.
Second of all, we're gonna have a whole new chat show after this. So
yeah, in like 2 months.
Yeah, you will get there.
Yeah.
And thanks again for listening to this episode of Chatzylon 5. Peace.
Should we say something different than peace, or do you think peace is still good?
Peace. Kashink. That's the sword piercing to the thing.
Okay, yeah, great.